It's time to bring the Blazing Sun out on Chimps mode again, and let's take a look at a strategy that's a little bit better. I'll be using Blazing Sun with the Prince of Darkness going back on Sanctuary, and I'm going to be going for a whole lot of cash bear as usual, a bit more than the last run where I think I did it with Churchill. So let's take a look at this strategy, and basically I'm doing a whole bunch of Desperado runs here and there to get ready for the Desperado strategy series video. I really just want to use these guys a lot more in some practical games and kind of get a feel for where they're best and what they do. But the one big thing to note is that Desperados are just extremely niche and map specific. The same Desperado strategy is not going to work on every map. That's kind of just the default thing about it, because of these tier 2 upgrades where they do better when they're like far away, or they do better when they're close and there's more stuff. And there's also like a whole bunch of placement stuff, especially with the mid-path tier 5, so it's kind of just crazy. But for the most part, the Blazing Sun is actually pretty simple. I'd say it's the simplest to use. You just want to try to kind of get it further away, which can work most of the time. When it's not the biggest deal, but it is like severely weakened to the point where I just say not use it. So it's kind of somewhere around like that, but using it with the Prince of Darkness is actually going to work out really well. And Psi 2 is kind of an interesting choice, but you really need Cyan 98 when you're going to be running a Prince of Darkness strategy like that. As long as you have something to take out the ZMGs in round 100, you can bring Psi and absolutely wreck. So I'm just playing it kind of simple here. I'm going for the early game just with a simple NG that's going to turn into an overclock later, so not really much money is wasted there, which is nice. And then I'd place those two Desperados up there. Those are going to be for round 100. They need to be placed on the further side of round 100, so they'll do even more damage against 100. And now it's time to save up for the early Prince of Darkness. I could go for the Blazing Sun first, but then it would kind of give me some like unwanted issues in the 70s, and I really just don't want to deal with that. So I'm just getting Prince of Darkness. It's a little bit of a hassle to kind of deal with those early Moabs without having like any real Moab damage. The 2-3-0 that I have up there is fine, but it's not really fully consistent against all the Moabs. So it's just a little bit of RNG, but we get the Prince of Darkness, and I can just cruise completely through the mid game and all the way into the 90s, which is really nice. I just have to hit the upgrades to get the Blazing Sun, and then I also get the Bounty Hunter. That is, of course, very, very crucial. You need that to be able to beat round 100, and it also generally does a lot better damage. Of course, this is very important for the Psy synergy, where we're just going to have the Blazing Sun rip open like the ZMGs on 98, and then have Psy explode everything, which is basically the way that we will run down the strategy. And then Prince of Darkness is obviously for the cleanup and the DDT counter. And Overclock is going to be on Prince of Darkness, I think, the entire time. Well, I think I put it on the Blazing Sun a little bit, but it's actually not very good on the Blazing Sun. In fact, for round 100, it's better to overclock the Bounty Hunter, but because of 99, I'll have it overclocked on Prince of Darkness. Luckily, this kind of takes an account for this, so I'll be able to beat round 100 without having to get anything special for it, which is really nice. That's a really cool bonus of the Blazing Sun. If you get it with the Bounty Hunter, which is kind of the combo that you always get the Blazing Sun with, it will be able to take out round 100 on even very short maps. Not the insides, it will just crack the bad layer open, but that's usually enough, especially if you have some cleanup towers, which you'll be pairing it with. And then, of course, the last big weakness to this guy is DDTs. So Prince of Darkness is kind of just the DDT solo. So that's where it's going to be working out. There's a few other synergies that I think could work out really, really well with the Blazing Sun, so I'll be covering that for the strategy series videos, but I'm just kind of testing out, seeing like what is the best. And Expert Chimps actually kind of is a good way to test out the limits of how well strategy synergies can work out. It's not really the same in Black Borders, of course, because you aren't really forced to do this cash save up in regular Black Border Chimps, meaning that your options are actually like just a lot more open, but it is a good indication of how far you can push things and to what degree does it need help. And of course, like in a Black Border, you're going to be getting safety stuff, so stuff that may not necessarily be required but will make it so your Black Border is not an absolute pain. And that's a good way to make sure that yes, the strategy can work and you'll have plenty of to work with for that taken into consideration. So I'm just flying into the 90s, and I'm putting overclock on the Prince of Darkness. As always, I want to time it because it is going to have that little bit of downtime. I don't want to be in that downtime. And what I'm doing is I'm manually setting the Prince of Darkness to shoot zombie BFBs on one side, and then they will go up the one side. And this is mostly because this is actually optimal, so I get the most coverage in the center, where if I did not do that, they kind of just come out of the top, which is not very good. But that kind of also focuses on one side, so the Blazing Sun more so can help deal with the others, and it takes the ZMGs out actually faster, so I can side screen better earlier, which is really, really nice. Kind of strange, but that's how it works. And then round 97, it took a little bit of work. This round actually, I think it took the longest out of all of them, which is kind of crazy, but I really need to beat this round while getting my abilities up for 98, which is a big important thing. Not the easiest thing to do when you really aren't working with much. So I pulled that out Also, 97 is really hard on ability-based strategies that can't stall just by default, which is kind of annoying. I hate when 97 is difficult. So I basically go into the most beautiful 98 I've done in a very long time. This is actually really lucky. I was getting a lot of attempts where I do the scream and then there's still stuff going through, but literally everything died on the screen. You can like go back and see that. It's kind of crazy. I haven't seen something like that in such a long time. 99 just took a lot of RNG. As you can see, the DDTs were getting far and they were like that the entire time. Usually a few ceramics would leak out. And then round 100 was really nice too. You just use the Deadeye ability mark to pop, and the Blazing Sun absolutely rips open the bad layer. And then I do some targeting on the Blazing Sun, so last to strong, to pop all the ZOMGs in the right order, and then it goes down. I can scream the rest and end with 74,000 cash bear, which is a pretty good amount. It was mostly a pod showcase. Pod is absolutely ridiculous, but pretty cool on the Blazing Sun's part. Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!